Welcome back to Dinar Trend Tracker channel. The Iraqi dinar has recently attracted a great deal of attention from around the world, with millions of people keeping a careful eye on a series of reports that are expected to surface in late 2025. Specific terms, such as activation, the third step of Darby's model, have been oversaturated in the discussion and aren't resonating across the many online communities. Along with the idea of Tier 4B exchange hubs, there have been huge surges of both excitement and perplexity caused by the unexpected emergence of particular, sequential-sounding language, and many are wondering what is actually going on. By sifting through all the chatter, we hope to offer a rational, systematic analysis of these emerging stories in this comprehensive study. We will dissect the meanings of these terms, look at where they exist, and separate the facts from the continuous supposition. The Iraqi dinar's IQD history has garnered a lot of attention for a long time, and rightfully so, given the country's enormous oil reserves and the possibility of long-term rehabilitation they hold. But the statements being made at this very moment are so particular that it feels different. Presenting this information in a factual and impartial manner is our goal. Shedding light on a dynamic and intricate situation. The third Darby phase is the most prevalent term in the conversation right now. Therefore, let's start by breaking it down. This term has become crucial in the story of a forthcoming transformation since it suggests a systematic, multi-step procedure. Keep in mind that the Iraqi government or the Central Bank of Iraq do not seem to be the original suppliers of this nomenclature. On the contrary, it appears to be a community-generated adjective that is employed to describe the purported chain of events. The story about this term suggests that laying the basis, infrastructure and internal processes ready. In the second stage, the new systems were supposedly stabilized and subjected to internal testing. Accordingly, the third stage is said to be the last moment of transition from internal preparation to outward access, which may enable conversion or exchange. This is a crucial stage. Even without official confirmation, this particular three-act storyline continues to circulate, which indicates that many observers strongly believe that major developments are taking place behind the scenes. The narrative form is the only one this paper uses to examine this phenomenon, investigating its constituent parts and the effect on public opinion, all the while holding fast to the reality that these stages are not yet included in any official plan that is visible to the public. The phrase, Tier 4B exchange centers, first appeared in the third phase storyline. Similar scrutiny is warranted for this expression because of its specificity. Observers use this word to refer to certain things, rather basic stuff. Some speculate that specific institutions, specialized financial hubs, or even government-affiliated facilities will be designated to manage the new rate of done transactions. The very name of the system suggests a hierarchical organization of privileges, what with all the layers and everything. Tier 4B is typically defined as a certain set of people inside this story, differentiated from other levels, such as those occupied by governments, Tier 1, or major institutions. Private persons, maybe former members of certain groups or those who had previously expressed interest, could be included in the 4B group, according to some speculation. The central question that arises from this story and is the subject of the most heated conjecture is whether these purported centers are actually open for business. No official announcement has been made by Iraq's Central Banking Authority or any other source confirming that these centers are open to the public or that they are operational for this purpose as of this report's publication date. However, there are still stories and claims of activation popping up on other internet platforms, which is keeping the heated debate going. The story's deep ramifications are at the heart of why this is all the rage right now. Many have followed this tale for years, if not decades, and if the allegations of a third phase and operating Tier IVB centers are true, it would be a momentous move. Those who keep tabs on the subject rightly become excited by the possibility, while hypothetical, of a revaluation of money that has been steady at a low value. A healthy dose of realism is necessary to counteract the optimism that propels the discussion. They have their roots in the dinar market's turbulent past. Overblown predictions, erroneous alarms, and deceptive assertions that never came to pass have been commonplace in this industry. There is a cautionary tale for every hopeful story. In late 2025, we are seeing the strain that this duality produces. Some members of the community are right to remind others that we need concrete, verifiable proof before we can accept the assertions that Phase 3 heralds a fresh start, despite the fact that many would like to think otherwise. Under this setting, it's important to keep your emotions under check and focus on the cold, hard facts of the financial position. In light of this, let's examine the current official position of Iraqi money and the observable economic reality with some seriousness. The IQD is the sign for the Iraqi dinar, the currency of Iraq. Keeps its currency rate of around 1,300 dinars to the dollar fairly steady right now. This has been the official rate for quite some time, and it has moved very little from its original range. This stability, domestic inflation control, and competent management of the nation's large oil income have always been of the Central Bank of Iraq, CBI. These are the basics that have been said in public. Real, substantial RV, not merely a little appreciation, would likely necessitate big, fundamental changes in Iraq's economic policies, which is why it's crucial to grasp this concept in the speculative narrative. There would probably be major things that happened before or with such a relocation, so it wouldn't happen in a vacuum. Press releases that have yet to be made by the Iraqi government and prominent international financial organizations. As the speculation surrounding this publicly available data increases in volume, it maintains its tranquility. Let us now take a dispassionate look at the claims made by those who support the Phase 3 activation theory. Those who hold the view that the story is true contend that the operational component of the review is now taking shape. Subtle, unproven cues are frequently taken for confirmation of this by them. There have been rumors of high-level meetings where IQD-related logistics were allegedly discussed, anecdotal reports of financial institutions quietly preparing their internal systems for new procedures, and claims that certain banking staff have been briefed on how to handle new exchange protocols. These are some of the signs that have been cited. These occurrences are not only random occurrences or ordinary financial operations, according to believers. They are seen as interconnected bits of evidence that prove a last countdown is happening, just under the surface, before the value of the currency is publicly and visibly changed. The idea that all operational details should be finalized before an official announcement is made is the foundation of this viewpoint. Together with the fact that these rumor-related actions serve as concrete evidence of that planning. On the flip side, we need to look at it from the skeptical opposite angle. Many analysts and long-term observers are skeptical, claiming that similar signals and whispers have been around for a while. They argue that such tidal surges of speculation have occurred nearly periodically throughout history, frequently coinciding with increased public curiosity. But usually end with nothing more than a continuation of the previous way of doing things, with no real change in value. The current activation could just be a misreading of ordinary financial procedures, according to skeptics. Big software updates, frequent compliance exercises for international standards, and seemingly unconnected technical changes in banking networks are all part of the ever-present and essential complexity of the global financial system. Looking at these events through the prism of optimistic anticipation could lead one to believe they are signs of something greater. The skeptic's point is that we should just disregard these reports as wild guesswork until the Central Bank of Iraq makes a confirmed pronouncement. In all likelihood, the reality is more likely to fall somewhere in the middle, showing slow, steady progress rather than a sudden, dramatic change. If observers and investors are serious about following the dinar's future based on facts rather than story, the question of what to watch becomes essential. Several important signs can be verified. Notifications from the government come first. The strongest and most conclusive proof would be any official announcement, publication, or rule made by the Iraqi government or the Central Bank of Iraq that pertains to new exchange schemes, rate adjustments, or public access protocols. Secondly, the interbank markets need to be monitored. Any change, no matter how little, in the official rate of the dinars across trustworthy international financial exchanges and data systems is evidence of fact, not speculation. Thirdly, the fundamental economic performance of Iraq is an important criteria. Oil is the lifeblood of the economy. So, it's important for onlookers to keep tabs on oil output and export results. An increase in these revenues and a substantial increase in the country's foreign currency reserves both increase the economic leverage and stability necessary to sustain a stronger currency. Lastly, a crucial long-term indicator is reforms in government and politics. The world community will have more faith in Iraqi currency when the country shows signs of making strides toward better governance, more transparency, and financial reforms. If you want an accurate depiction, look no further than these 4 factors than at unproven internet forecasts. Putting this whole discussion into its wider global perspective is equally crucial. The value of a currency is relative and part of a larger, intricate, and highly interdependent global financial ecosystem. Making the decision to strengthen the dinar in a meaningful and sustainable way cannot be done in isolation. Widespread support, global alliances, and unwavering market trust are necessary for this kind of action. As part of this procedure, it is common for different central banks to work closely together and follow stringent international financial standards. These standards include those established by the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, which is concerned with anti-money laundering, AML, and combating the financing of terrorism, CFT. In order to establish this confidence, open and honest budgetary policies are required. Because of this, knowledgeable watchers keep tabs on Iraq's connections with international organizations, its measures to strengthen its trade systems, and its reforms aimed at the long term. Witnessing observable advancements in these domains is akin to being a witness to the groundwork that must precede any long-term change in currency. Once these systemic changes are implemented and acknowledged on a worldwide scale, the narrative transitions from mere rhetoric to actuality. Let's speculate. It would most likely not be a clandestine affair, but rather open to the public and governed by established protocols, given past examples and the workings of the financial system. The Iraqi government and Central Bank of Iraq are expected to make obvious public announcements soon, explaining the new rate, the rationale behind the change, and the particular exchange windows or procedures for citizens and international holders. After that, global financial institutions should notify their employees and clients of the changes to their procedures for dealing with the newly valued currency. Most importantly, prominent and trustworthy financial media outlets in Iraq and around the world would cover this. Since a central bank would want to avoid the kind of volatility that may disrupt the domestic economy, economists believe that such a change could appear as a controlled, progressive strengthening of the market. It is usually preferable to rise gradually and strategically rather than with a sudden, huge spike. The present conjectural storyline is devoid of this whole observable chain of evidence. Coming back to the subject of the purported exchange centers, what would the functional implications be if these Tier 4B locations or any comparable designated centers actually exist or are getting ready to operate? In an ideal world, it would give a regulated, official way to exchange currencies. There would have to be a gradual rollout if the tier structure was actual. To better manage the conversion's logistics, it may be wise to begin with limited access for certain groups before opening to the general public. However, it is essential to compare and contrast this story with the actual workings of the international banking system. Strict compliance standards bind financial organizations in the US, Europe, and Asia. They can't just start converting currencies at a new, unproven rate because someone said it online. Official paperwork, update, procedure lists, verification procedures, and confirmed rate data sent through trusted central bank and interbank channels are all necessary for any bank to take part. Discussions about these particular centers may only be considered speculative unless concrete, procedural evidence becomes available. It is critical to address risk and verification in this intense hope and speculation atmosphere. Unfortunately, con artists have been drawn to the dinar narrative due to its lengthy duration. From people peddling counterfeit currency to schemes offering priority list access or insider access in exchange for an upfront payment, there have been reported incidents of scams. That is why it is essential to include a firm, non-judgmental reminder about safety in any conversation about this subject. Recognized, official, and controlled financial channels, such as established banks and authorized financial organizations, will facilitate any future currency conversion or revaluation programs. The use of unwanted email links, social media private messages, or requests for personal information to establish a secret appointment would not be the means by which it would be launched. Safeguarding one's personal and financial information necessitates constantly double-checking information with reputable, trackable sources. In the world of finance, if an offer requires payment in advance and demands confidentiality, you should be very wary. The bigger question for many observers as we go further into 2025 is not if a revaluation will happen, but what shape it could reasonably take. Many are wondering if it will be a slow build-up or the unexpected, dramatic event that everyone is talking about. Gradual increase over a long period of time. Will it be a process that is mostly targeted at individuals inside Iraq, or will it be available to everyone internationally? Such inquiries are still unanswered. Verifiable fact: modernize its economy, fight corruption, and fortify its financial systems. For the nation's well-being and stability in the long run, this is excellent news. Full convertibility and worldwide parity with major currencies are goals that will take a very long time and a lot of patience to achieve. Whoever stays informed through reliable sources, who is wary of assertions that cannot be verified, and who is ready to act only when official, verified information becomes available will be in the best position to survive. A lot of Dinar observers have used the Phase 3 activation story as a litmus test for how they deal with rumors and news. People will either respond emotionally to each new allegation or methodically examine the evidence, seek out patterns that support the claims, and stick to a plan. Despite the allure of riding the wave of buzz, it's usually smarter to adopt a strategic mindset. This necessitates keeping tabs on the reliable updates that were previously mentioned. For example, when to expect confirmation of central bank statements or changes in interbank rates, and so on. When it comes to money, the truth is that feeling, thanks to the distinctive and continuous third RV phase and Tier 4B tails, which have piqued the interest of millions of people around the world, there is indisputable momentum in the discussion about the Iraqi dinar. Simultaneously with this narrative momentum, there is a noticeable lack of response from official, credible sources. International financial organizations and the Central Bank of Iraq have both refuted these assertions in public statements. Staying grounded in the facts while acknowledging the narrative has been made much easier with this modification. Neither is the Iraqi Dinar revaluation narrative verified to have been finalized nor activated. The process is still in its early stages. In this uncertain world, being well prepared and carefully watching reliable sources are essential. For those who have been following this ongoing economic drama, the most precious assets are an illogical, patient mindset.